Never date a woman over the age of 30. Trust me, you will live to regret it. It is a bad investment. It is a waste of time.
This gotta be the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I'm going to give you a lot of examples so you can avoid the drama, the headaches, and the migraines when it comes to dealing with women who are far past their prime. What you got to understand about a woman, what they have to offer, it's two things. Number one, their fertility. Number two, their looks, their beauty. If a woman is just giving that away for free and just foregoing her settling down with a quality guy all in her 20s at her peak years, why on earth would you want to settle down with a woman who's 32, 35, 40, 50? It makes no sense. Listen, there's a woman who turns 18 every single minute of the day. That's legal age. You can get with those women, 22, 25, interact and deal with those women, because a lot of guys, what they're doing is they're saying, well, I'm 30 years old, so I can settle down now. And I want to get a woman who's 30 or 35 or in my age range. It's not the same. See, you've probably been grinding and working hard in your 20s, right? You've been building yourself up. You've been doing the things you're supposed to do. You have built your business. You made a lot of money. Maybe you make six figures now or close to it. And that woman in her 20s, you know what she was doing? She probably went to a little college, but for the most part, she's been living her best life. She's been sleeping around, I'm telling you. She's been dating around with a lot of dudes, bar hopping, drinking, doing drugs, smoking, doing all types of things, wearing her body down, sleeping with this guy, getting used and abused, getting in a relationship with a low-life guy who has no future. She rejected hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of men who are good, hardworking men who had a good head on their shoulders. Now, all of a sudden, she just sees the light and she's ready to settle down with a good man, and she's 32, 30, 35, 40. All of a sudden, don't you think that's kind of crazy? See, don't build your life up. Don't put yourself in a position to be successful and live a comfortable life, then get a bad investment. You've been making good decisions and good investments all in your 20s and 30s. Don't say, well, I'm just going to get a woman because I don't want to be alone. Don't do that, okay? Also, the reason why you don't want to get a woman who's over 30 or date or get in a relationship with her is because she is unable to be molded and trained. Yes, I did say that. A woman is supposed to be a reflection of her man. So if she's had a lot of different bodies and she's come in contact with different dudes.
All right, man, that's about all I can take on that. But this is how you can tell the difference between guys who are actually dating women versus guys who are out there getting rejected by women. Let me tell you, I didn't even understand what healthy communication looked like in a relationship until I dated an older woman. Do you know how refreshing it was to be with a woman who wasn't playing games? Be with a woman who knew what she wanted and understood how to communicate that? To be with a woman who was emotionally intelligent and didn't just expect me to read her mind? A woman who also got her shit together? If you don't know what I'm talking about, then obviously you haven't been out here dating women 30 and over. Now, obviously, all women in their 30s aren't going to have a high level of intelligence, but by and large, the women that I have interacted with were way less drama than the women in their 20s. Now, if you ask me right now, if I had to pick between a hot girl in her 20s that doesn't know how to emotionally express herself and loves drama and argues versus a woman who is in her 30s who also looks good but brings me peace, I'm definitely picking the woman in her 30s every single time. Now, if you're just out here looking for a few laughs and some butt naked sex, and yeah, sure, yeah, go ahead, get you a 20-something-year-old, because they're all about that. But a woman in her 30s, she been there, done that, right? Typically now around this point, she's looking for something real. And so I want to address something. So he painted this picture, right? This the picture he painted. This is some wild shit. He painted this picture that when women in their 20s, all they do is hold around and be with this guy, that guy, and this guy, and that guy. And then they get to the 30s and then they want to settle down. That's all women who, when they get to their 30s, that's what they spent their 20s doing. Bro, that's not real, bro. That's not realistic. That's some shit you heard on the internet. If that's what women are doing, then if you aiming for a woman in her 20s, then you catching her in the middle of her whole phase. So ultimately, like, the age thing doesn't really matter, right? So if you have a woman who is 34 years old and single, that doesn't necessarily mean that she spent all her previous years hoeing around and sleeping with a bunch of different guys. What if she's 34 and single and coming out of a 8-year marriage? Now, if I got to choose between a 34-year-old who just came out of a 6-year marriage versus a 25-year-old who's never been in a relationship over a year, I'm going to pick the 34-year-old. Reason being is because if she was in a 6-year marriage, even though it didn't work out, what that tells me without knowing anything else about this woman is this woman knows how to compromise. This woman understands how to get through the hard times, and she's not afraid of commitment. Versus a 25-year-old who's never had a relationship over a year, she don't know shit. You probably going to have to teach her everything and have to work through those hard times. And you think just because a woman is in her 20s that she doesn't have relationship trauma? I know women who are dealing with relationship trauma from their teenage years. And because they're still in their 20s, they don't have the emotional intelligence to understand how to deal with that trauma. Versus a woman who is in her 30s, she probably has more emotional intelligence, more maturity, and understands those emotions and can better deal with that and heal from those traumas. And the next point he touched on is that how women in their 20s, they're more coachable, they're more malleable. You can mold them into what you want them to be. Why the hell she gonna listen to you? Just because she's 20, she gonna listen to you? She ain't even listen to her damn daddy, but she gonna listen to you. If it was that easy, you wouldn't even have an audience, my guy. Because any dude would just walk up to a 20-year-old and be like, all right, and, you know, make them into what they want them to be. Are younger people more easily influenced? Sure. But you're not going to pick a 20-year-old and coach her on how to be a submissive, traditional housewife. It's not going to happen like that, my guy. If she didn't already learn those values from her mother, then it's probably not going to happen. Truth of the matter is, if you want a woman to follow you, it depends on two things. One, are you someone worth following? Do you have good leadership qualities? And two, is that woman within her feminine frame? Because if she's in her feminine frame, then she has the willingness to follow, and she will allow the man to lead if he is worth it. And another thing, why are we talking about 30 like it's so freaking old? Like the age where you start to get stuck in your ways, that's like 40, 50, you know what I mean? That's not in your 30s. And then you're talking about like reproduction and, you know, having babies. Do you know the average age for women to have a baby in the United States is what, like 28, 29? Damn, they're 30. Hell, you don't even reach high risk pregnancy until after 35. And that doesn't mean you can't still have a child. You can still have a baby at that point. Now, the only thing I will give him is that when we're looking at from a physicality standpoint, right? Like a 25-year-olds versus 35-year-olds, 25-year-olds are mopping the floor with 35-year-olds. And I'm not saying that there isn't good-looking 35-year-old women out there. I'm sure they are. But if you compare a 35-year-old woman with her 25-year-old self, she ain't beating her 25-year-old self. At best, she looks just as good as she did as she was 25. But you, by and large, 9 times out of 10, a woman is not going to look better at 35 than she did at 25. That's the one thing I'll give this man. And I don't even understand why he had to go so hard. Like, if he just changed the title to "This is why men prefer women in their 20s," and then highlighted all the positive stuff about dating a woman in their 20s, I might not have had an issue with the video. But instead, he decided to go and highlight a group of women and talk about all the negatives about that group of women. And you know what, man? I'm just going to assume that he doesn't even really believe none of the things he's saying. This was his Kevin Samuels moment. He basically said all this to like go viral. And you know what? I guess it's working because I'm talking about it. But that's why I ain't even going to say his name, because I don't even want him getting this clout. But if you do happen to stumble across his video, you'll notice that he even had to turn off the comments. That's how you know it's a bad take, when you have to go and turn off the comments on your own channel. And look, man, if you've never dated a woman over 30, just say that. Man, I've dated plenty of women who were in their 30s while I was not in my 30s or in my 20s, and I don't have any complaints. I also know plenty of other guys who dated older women and say that they preferred it, because when they're dating the young woman, it comes with a lot of bullshit. And this isn't to say that one group of women is better than the other group of women. There's going to be good and bad in both groups. And so if you going to sit here and comment under my channel and say, oh yeah, I dated women in their 30s and you know she had all kind of problems, blah, blah, blah. Pick better. Isn't that what y'all tell women? Oh man, you hate men. Why don't you pick better guys? Pick better women. There's plenty of good-looking, attractive, feminine women in their 30s that you can choose from and date. You can't honestly make me believe that if a woman is 30 and single, just throw in the trash. She's useless now. She has no talents no more because she hit that 30 age. That's the most idiotic, stupid, dumb thing I've ever heard in my damn life. And let me tell you, you can't just make a blanket statement about a specific group of women and think that shit's gonna fly. I can't believe he said that dumb shit, man. I know women in their 30s who only been with 3-4 dudes. I know women in their 20s been with 30-40 guys, bro. So it's like, bro, you can't make these comments like, oh, she 30, she's single, she been with a bunch of dudes. Like, bro, it don't even make sense. But hey, you guys let me know what y'all think of the video. Let me know which points you agree with, which points you disagree with. Leave your comments in the comment section below. And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you got anything out of this video, hit that like button. This is Agree to Disagree. I'm out.